I put this out just to be a jerk today on Twitter. To be
You
fair,
sure did.
Rich Madrid egged me on.
He's done it before, though. He's done it before, and that's why he's very well versed in this discussion. He just wanted to see someone else go through the ringer in those
Jesse
comments.
Naylor started like throwing some jabs at Kyle Shanahan on Twitter, comparing him to Chip Kelly, which we're going to do in a minute. But then Rich comes in and is like, hey, I dare you to say that Sean McVay is better. And I was like, oh, I'll do that right now. So I channeled Ice-T and tweeted an ice cold fact that Sean McVay has been a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan, which means not necessarily is, but has been. Is that fair? Do you agree?
There's an argument to be made. If you look at strictly win-loss record, without context, let's just say an alien came down and you said, hey, who are the two brightest coaches in that division? Show them the win-loss record, and if they don't know anything about football, they'd say, hey, look at Sean McVay. It's obviously him. They've had no losing seasons. They've been to the playoffs every single year, and they continue to be aggressive offseason after offseason. Say what you want about what's going to happen down the line with those picks. This team clearly wants to put itself in the dance with a shot to do it. You can only win it if you're in it. Yeah. And for 49er fans, this is the part where I'm going to tell you to chill out. Yes, they continue to beat the Rams. The Rams are in the playoffs every year. Yeah. You wouldn't want that as a 49er fan? You don't want to be perennially in the playoffs?
No, it's better to just beat the Rams.
I don't understand that. I would give up those 2 wins to the Rams to make the playoffs every single year with a shot of making a run at the Super Bowl. Say what you want, whether if the Rams were equipped to do that. They're in the dance, and that's all you really need to ask. Ask Nick Foles, ask the Philadelphia Eagles what it means to just be in the dance and see what happens.
That's right.
You don't get anything by being home. So there, I'll take that. Or, again, only chance, but I get to also be objective. We have to line this right down the middle. At the same time, Grant, Kyle took over a worse roster. We know that. That's objectively a worse roster.
No doubt. And it was scorched earth, man. It was scorched earth.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, if you want to make points about how Kyle filled out the roster afterwards, go for it. Because there's plenty to be picked apart. Brian Hoyer starts, didn't evaluate Watson, Mahomes. Cool. Those are all things that deserve to be discussed.
He had a blank canvas, and Sean McVay really didn't.
Exactly.
Right.
So the situation that I'm going to compare this to with Sean McVay, Jeff Fisher, Mr. 8-8, Mr. 7-9, perennial 7-9, 8-8. Basically, Sean McVay takes over that roster with just additions to whatever that draft class was. That feels a lot like when Mike Singletary left and Jim Harbaugh took over, and Jim Harbaugh shaped a roster that was essentially the same, and all they did was add, Iupati and those guys from the draft, but they went 13-3 the next year. At what point is it, okay, this person steered a ship that was going the right way? Look, he got the most. He squoze every little bit out of Jared Goff. Every single bit he could. A number one pick, and this man had to hold his hand the entire time. And they made the Super Bowl. Say what you want about them scoring 3 points. That's fine. The Patriots ran a defense that is now known as the way that you stop Shanahan-like offenses in that Super Bowl. So, yes, if you want to kill McVay for not adjusting, cool. You're fine with that as well.
I would agree.
But at the same time, those situations kind of feel parallel, and they kind of feel the same, where one roster was the same, but one guy was 7-9, the next guy takes over, all of a sudden they're successful. That's the part where McVay should get a lot of credit. With Kyle, roster was terrible. Say what you want, he missed out on the quarterback, injuries, which is pretty much really what we, all the context that's given to Kyle Shanahan and why things haven't progressed past the Super Bowl. Every year you can make the argument for something else being in the way of that. In 2019, people want to point to 15, 16 people on IR. Cool. None of them were named Nick Bosa or Jimmy Garoppolo or anybody of the highest caliber on the team. When all of those guys go down last year, then there's really a lot more that goes into it. So, yes, there's a discussion to be had about Sean McVay. Do I agree with it? No. Should fans also be pondering this right now and talking about it? Yes, absolutely. And should fans be concerned or worried? They have a right to be, even if I'm not. That's the best way I could put it.
I feel like a football purist can appreciate Kyle Shanahan, like an Only Shans member, someone who has access to the all-22 and can really compare the differences in the offense. I think most people with that level of knowledge and information in front of them would appreciate Kyle and say he's a better coordinator than McVay. His offense is better than McVay. There's more going on there. I think Kyle probably is a better coordinator than McVay, but I think where McVay has to get I mean, has to get the edge is like, yeah, he inherited a better team, but now they're both going into year 5, and you can both say that they're coaching the team that they set up. And for whatever reason, Sean McVay doesn't have an injury issue. He's consistent. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. They've made it the same distance, but Sean McVay has a level of consistency that I think speaks to him as a leader and being a natural head coach. Kyle, I feel like the question with him is, man, you're so smart. You're such a good quarter. You're such like, but are you that head coach? Because the record says you're not, and you can't say that with McVay. So that's the only thing I feel like McVay is surprisingly good of a leader, considering he's 35 and he's kind of small and he doesn't necessarily look like he would be, but he has a natural gift at that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my daughter. She's not feeling too well in the other room.
Oh, okay.
But
sure.
No, you're absolutely right. So I think that when you talk about both, again, he jumped into a much better roster, for sure. A much better roster, I believe.
Yes.
But at the same time, you know, those questions about Kyle being a better coach and stuff, those are things that should be explored, I believe. Mm-hmm. Those things that should be discussed. I don't believe that he's a better coach, because when you hear this 49er team talk about him and they talk about his honesty and such, seems like he's got the attention in the room. You know, you talked to Jaquiski Tartt on my show, and he said he walks in the room, everybody, he just command the attention. You know, there's a lot of guys who bark loud, say a lot of those coach speak things. Kyle, when he walks in, it's the presence. And I think that a lot of players respect his football mind. Yeah. You know, sometimes, you know, when I spoke to Tartt, he tells me he talked about things that I never even thought of when it comes to, you know, offense and defense. So, yeah, I mean, there are these questions, and 49er fans should at least have this discussion. I don't agree with it, but I think that it's a fair discussion at this point. Why not?
I mean, we could be talking about practice, but they canceled it. So we're talking about Kyle.